Hello, wonderful viewers, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, where we bring history to life and help you learn English along the way. Today, we're embarking on an incredible adventure to explore the life of Marie Curie, a woman whose brilliance and determination changed the world forever. If you're watching to improve your English, you're in the right place. This video is packed with fascinating stories, helpful vocabulary, and a narrative that's easy to follow. So grab a cup of tea, a notebook, and let's travel through time to meet one of the most inspiring figures in history. Title: The Extraordinary Life of Marie Curie, a Journey of Science, Courage, and Inspiration. Marie Curie was more than a scientist. She was a pioneer, someone who leads the way in a new field, a dreamer and a fighter. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and she did it twice in two different sciences. Her discoveries in radioactivity revolutionized medicine and science, and her story is a beacon, a guiding light or inspiration of hope for anyone chasing a dream. From her humble beginnings in Poland to her groundbreaking work in France, Marie's life is a testament, proof or evidence, to the power of curiosity and courage. Let's dive into her story, starting where it all began, a small apartment in Warsaw, Poland. Part 1. A curious child in a challenging world. Born in Warsaw, Marie Curie was born Maria Skłodowska on November 7, 1867, in Warsaw, Poland. A nation under oppression, Poland was controlled by Russia, creating a stifling, restrictive or oppressive environment for learning. A family of scholars, Maria's parents instilled a love for education despite hardships. Early signs of genius, Maria's curiosity and intelligence shone through even as a young girl. Maria Skłodowska entered the world in a city buzzing with history, but weighed down by struggle. Warsaw, in 1867, was part of the Russian Empire, and the Polish people faced strict rules. The Russian government controlled schools, banned Polish culture, and punished anyone who dared to dream of freedom. For a bright, curious girl like Maria, this was a challenging world to grow up in, but it shaped her into the resilient, able to recover from difficulties, woman she would become. Maria was the youngest of 5 children in a family that valued knowledge above all else. Her father, Władysław Skłodowski, was a mathematics and physics teacher with a passion for science. Their small apartment was like a mini university, filled with books, scientific instruments, and lively debates. Władysław would show Maria how to use a microscope, letting her peer at tiny worlds invisible to the naked eye. These moments sparked a lifelong love for discovery. Her mother, Bronisława, ran a girls' school until she fell ill with tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, a serious lung disease that affects breathing. Bronisława's illness cast a shadow over the family, and when she died in 1878, Maria was only 10 years old. The loss was devastating, but it taught Maria to channel her grief into determination. Despite the family's financial struggles, Władysław lost his job for his pro-Polish views. Maria thrived in school. She attended a Russian-run school where lessons were in Russian, not Polish, but she secretly studied her native language and culture. By age 15, she graduated at the top of her class, earning a gold medal for her academic excellence. Teachers marveled at her memory. She could recite poems and solve complex math problems with ease. But there was a problem. In Russian-controlled Poland, women were barred from universities. For most girls, this would have been the end of the road. For Maria, it was just the beginning of her fight. Maria's teenage years were filled with small but meaningful rebellions. She read forbidden books, attended secret cultural gatherings, and dreamed of a world where she could study freely. Her siblings shared her passion for learning. Her sister Bronislawa wanted to be a doctor, and her brother Yosef aimed to study medicine. The Skłodowski family was poor but rich in ambition, and Maria's heart was set on science. She knew that to achieve her dreams, she'd need to leave Poland and find a place where women could study. That place was Paris, but getting there would take years of sacrifice. Part 2, The Secret University and a Dream of Paris, the Flying University. Maria joined an underground school to pursue her education. Life as a governess. She worked to support her family and fund her sister's studies, saving for Paris. Maria's determination led her to the Sorbonne in 1891. Cultural awakening. Exposure to Polish intellectuals fueled her ambitions. With no access to formal higher education, Maria refused to give up. She discovered a secret organization called the Flying University, a bold and illegal network of Polish scholars who taught in hidden classrooms. These classes moved from one apartment to another to avoid Russian police, earning the name Flying for their nomadic, moving from place to place nature. Maria attended these clandestine, secret or hidden lessons, studying chemistry, biology, and mathematics by candlelight. The thrill of learning in secret made her feel alive, and she soaked up knowledge like a sponge. To support her family, Maria took a job as a governess at age 17. She moved to the countryside to teach the children of a wealthy family, the Żurawskis. Life as a governess was isolating. She lived far from home, in a cold manor house, teaching long hours. But Maria turned her evenings into her own university. She borrowed books, studied physics, and even taught herself algebra from scratch. In a heartbreaking twist, Maria fell in love with the Żurawski's son, Kazimierz, a young mathematician. They dreamed of marriage, but his parents disapproved, calling Maria a poor nobody. The rejection stung, but it hardened her resolve. Firm determination to achieve a goal. She vowed to prove her worth through her mind, not her status. Maria's biggest goal was to study at the Sorbonne, the prestigious, highly respected or admired university in Paris. But Paris was a distant dream for a girl with no money. She made a pact with her sister Bronislawa, who also wanted to study in Paris. Maria would work to pay for Bronislawa's medical school, and later Bronislawa would help Maria. For 6 years, Maria toiled as a governess, sending every spare coin to her sister. She lived frugally in a way that saves money, wearing simple clothes and eating meager meals. In her letters to Bronislawa, Maria wrote about her studies, her hopes, and her belief that education was worth any sacrifice. During this time, Maria also connected with Poland's intellectual underground. She met poets, scientists, and activists who dreamed of a free Poland. These encounters broadened her worldview, teaching her about feminism, social justice, and the power of ideas. By 1891, at age 24, Maria had saved enough to join Bronislawa in Paris. She packed a small suitcase, some books, and a heart full of ambition. The train journey to France was long and uncomfortable. Maria sat in a cheap fourth-class carriage, shivering in the cold. But as the train crossed into France, She felt a surge of excitement. Paris was her chance to become the scientist she was born to be. Part 3. A New Beginning at the Sorbonne. Life at the Sorbonne. Maria, now Marie, enrolled in one of Europe's top universities. Poverty and perseverance. She lived in a tiny attic, struggling to survive. Academic triumphs. Marie earned degrees in physics and mathematics. Meeting Marie Curie. A chance encounter sparked a life-changing partnership. Paris in 1891 was a city of light, art, and ideas. The Eiffel Tower, newly built, stood tall, and the streets were alive with cafes, theaters, and intellectuals. For Marie, though, Paris was about one thing: the Sorbonne. She enrolled in the Faculty of Sciences, one of the few women among hundreds of men. Calling herself Marie to blend in, she threw herself into her studies. The lectures were in French, a language she was still mastering, but she scribbled notes furiously, determined to keep up. Life in Paris was far from glamorous. Marie lived in a sixth-floor attic in the Latin Quarter, a bohemian, artistic and unconventional neighborhood. Her room was so small she could barely turn around, with no heat, no running water, and a leaky roof. In winter, she piled blankets on herself to stay warm, sometimes waking to find her water jug frozen. Money was tight. She survived on bread, butter, and tea, occasionally fainting from hunger, losing consciousness due to weakness. Yet Marie never complained. She wrote to her family, "I am so happy here. I feel like I'm living in a dream." At the Sorbonne, Marie faced skepticism, doubt, or disbelief from some professors and students who thought women didn't belong in science. But her brilliance silenced them. She studied physics with a passion, memorizing formulas and conducting experiments in the university's labs. In 1893, she graduated at the top of her class in physics, earning a scholarship to continue her studies. A year later, she earned a second degree in mathematics. Her professors were stunned by her work ethic and intellect, calling her a prodigy, a person with exceptional talent. While working on a research project, Marie needed a laboratory and was introduced to Marie Curie, a 35-year-old physicist known for his work on crystals and magnetism. Pierre was tall, quiet, and a bit awkward, with a gentle smile and a mind as curious as Marie's. He ran a small lab at the School of Industrial Physics and Chemistry, and when Marie visited, they bonded over science. Pierre was captivated by her intensity. She wasn't like anyone he'd ever met. He offered her lab space, and soon their conversations turned from science to life, dreams, and the beauty of discovery. At first, Marie wasn't interested in romance. She planned to return to Poland after her studies, and marriage seemed like a distraction. But Pierre was persistent, continuing despite obstacles. He wrote her letters, shared poetry, and invited her on long walks along the Seine River. He told her, "It would be a beautiful thing to pass through life together, hypnotized by our dreams. Your dream of a free Poland, our dream of science." Slowly, Marie realized Pierre was her equal, someone who saw her not just as a woman, but as a scientist. Their love story was about to change the world. Part 4. A Partnership of Love and Science. A Simple Wedding. Marie and Pierre married in 1895, beginning a legendary collaboration. The Shed Laboratory. They worked in a dilapidated, in poor condition space. Discovering radioactivity, their research uncovered new scientific frontiers: polonium and radium. The Curies identified two groundbreaking elements. On July 26, 1895, Marie and Pierre tied the knot in a small, joyful ceremony in Sceaux, a suburb of Paris. Marie wore a simple dark blue dress, practical enough to wear in the lab later. There was no fancy reception, just family, a few friends, and a shared love for simplicity. Instead of a honeymoon, they bought two bicycles and pedaled through the French countryside, stopping to picnic under oak trees and discuss scientific theories. It was the perfect start for a couple united by love and curiosity. The Curies set up their laboratory in a rundown shed at Pierre's school. Calling it a lab was generous. It was more like a storage room with a dirt floor, cracked windows, and a rusty stove. Rain leaked through the roof, and in winter they shivered as they worked. But to Marie and Pierre, it was a palace of possibilities. They shared a vision to explore the mysterious rays discovered by Henri Becquerel, a French physicist who noticed that uranium emitted invisible energy. Becquerel called it radioactivity, and Marie was determined to understand it. Marie began her doctoral research using a device Pierre invented called an electrometer to measure the rays. She tested minerals, rocks, and metals, noticing that some were far more radioactive than uranium alone. This led to a bold hypothesis, a proposed explanation. There were undiscovered elements hiding in these materials. Marie and Pierre teamed up, combining her meticulous, extremely careful and precise experiments with his inventive tools. They ordered tons of pitchblende, a black radioactive ore, a heavy mineral rich in uranium, and began the grueling, extremely tiring task of extracting its secrets. The work was backbreaking. They crushed pitchblende into powder, boiled it in huge vats, and filtered it through chemicals, all in their drafty shed. The air was thick with dust, and their hands blistered from stirring. Neighbors thought they were crazy, spending days in a smelly shack for invisible rays. But in July 1898, their efforts paid off. They isolated a new element 300 times more radioactive than uranium. Marie named it polonium, after her beloved Poland, a nod to her roots. 6 months later, they found another element, even more powerful, which they called radium because it glowed with a faint blue light. These discoveries were a scientific earthquake, shaking the foundations of physics and chemistry. Part 5. The Nobel Prize and the Price of Fame. The 1903 Nobel Prize, Marie, Pierre, and Becquerel, were honored for radioactivity research. Gender barriers. Marie faced discrimination as a woman in science. Balancing family and work. The Curies raised two daughters, Irene and Eve. Global recognition. Their discoveries made them international celebrities. In 1903, the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics to Marie, Pierre, and Henri Becquerel for their work on radioactivity. Marie was the first woman to receive a Nobel, a historic moment that echoed around the world. The prize came with a hefty sum of money, but the Curies weren't interested in wealth. They used it to fund research, buy lab equipment, and help struggling students. For them, science was about sharing knowledge, not chasing riches. Fame brought challenges, especially for Marie. The scientific community was dominated by men, and some dismissed her as Pierre's assistant rather than a genius in her own right. Newspapers printed condescending acting superior or belittling articles, suggesting her role was minor. Others criticized her for working while raising children. In 1897, Marie gave birth to her first daughter, Irene, and in 1904, her second daughter, Eve. Motherhood was a joy, but it came with guilt. Marie worried she wasn't spending enough time with her girls. She and Pierre hired a nanny and leaned on Pierre's parents, who adored their grandchildren. Marie taught Iran math and science at home, planting seeds of curiosity that would bloom later. The Curie's discoveries made them global stars. They received invitations to lecture in London, Berlin, and New York. Universities offered them honorary degrees, and their shed became a pilgrimage site for scientists. But fame was a double-edged sword. Double-edged sword, something with both benefits and drawbacks. Reporters hounded them, and Marie, shy by nature, found the attention overwhelming. Still, she and Pierre kept working, publishing papers and teaching at the Sorbonne. They dreamed of a world where radium could treat diseases, and their discoveries were already showing promise in medicine. Part 6. A Heartbreaking Loss. Pierre's Tragic Death. In 1906, Pierre was killed in a street accident. Marie's resilience. She took over his teaching role and continued their research. The second Nobel Prize. In 1911, Marie won a Nobel Prize in chemistry. Public scrutiny, scandals, and rumors tested her strength. On April 19, 1906, tragedy struck. Pierre was walking in Paris during a rainstorm when he slipped and was struck by a horse-drawn cart. The wheels crushed his skull, and he died instantly. Marie was shattered. Pierre was her partner in every sense, her collaborator, her confidant, a trusted friend, her love. She wrote in her diary, "My Pierre, I want to tell you that the laburnum is in bloom, but you are not here to see it." For weeks she withdrew, barely eating or speaking, her grief a heavy cloak. But Marie refused to let despair win. She decided to honor Pierre by carrying on their work. The Sorbonne offered her Pierre's professorship, making her the first woman to teach at the university. On November 5, 1906, she stepped into a lecture hall filled with curious students and skeptical colleagues. Her voice steady, she began teaching about radioactivity, never mentioning Pierre's name. It was a quiet act of courage, a way to keep his legacy alive. In 1911, Marie achieved the unthinkable, a second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for isolating pure radium and studying its properties. No one had ever won two Nobels in different fields, and the world was in awe, but not everyone celebrated. A scandal erupted when newspapers published letters suggesting Marie had an affair with a married scientist, Paul Langevin, a former student of Pierre's. The accusations were exaggerated, but the press painted Marie as a homewrecker. Homewrecker, someone blamed for breaking up a marriage. Crowds gathered outside her house shouting insults. Marie was humiliated but stood firm, saying, "I believe in the truth of science, not the noise of rumors." The Nobel Committee urged her not to attend the ceremony, fearing controversy, but Marie went anyway, accepting her prize with dignity. Part 7. Science in Service of Humanity. World War I. Marie turned her expertise to wartime medical needs. The Little Curies. She developed mobile X-ray units to save soldiers' lives. Mentoring Iran. Her daughter became a scientist, continuing the family legacy. International advocacy. Marie raised funds for radium research worldwide. When World War I broke out in 1914, Marie saw an opportunity to use science for good. The war left millions wounded, and doctors struggled to treat injuries without modern tools. Marie realized that X-rays, which used radium to create images of bones, could help surgeons locate bullets and shrapnel, fragments of metal from explosions. She learned to drive, got a license, and designed mobile X-ray units nicknamed Little Curies. These trucks, equipped with X-ray machines and generators, traveled to battlefields, bringing life-saving technology to soldiers. Marie didn't stay safe in Paris. She drove the Little Curies herself, navigating muddy roads and dodging gunfire. She trained nurses and doctors, including her daughter Irene, who was now 17 and eager to help. Together they worked in field hospitals, their bond growing stronger amid the chaos. By the war's end, the Little Curies had helped over 1 million soldiers, earning Marie admiration as a war hero. She never sought praise, saying, "Science belongs to those it can serve." After the war, Marie's fame grew. She traveled to the United States in 1921 and 1929, raising money to buy radium for research. American women, inspired by her story, donated jewelry and funds, calling her a role model. Presidents Harding and Hoover welcomed her, and she toured universities, meeting young scientists. Back in France, she ran the Radium Institute, a hub for studying radioactivity. Irene and her husband, Frédéric Joliot, worked there, discovering artificial radioactivity and winning a Nobel Prize in 1935. Marie beamed with pride, but her health was fading. Decades of handling radium had poisoned her body, causing chronic illnesses. Part 8. A legacy that shines forever. Marie's final days. She died in 1934 from radiation-related illness. Scientific impact. Her discoveries transformed medicine and physics. Breaking barriers. Marie paved the way for women in science. Global inspiration. Her story continues to motivate dreamers everywhere. On July 4, 1934, Marie Curie passed away in a French sanatorium at age 66. She had aplastic anemia, a disease caused by prolonged exposure to radiation. Exposure, contact with something harmful. Even in her final weeks, she worked on a book about radioactivity, her pen scratching late into the night. Her death was mourned worldwide, but her light never dimmed. Scientists, politicians, and ordinary people wrote tributes, calling her a gift to humanity. Marie's discoveries reshaped the world. Radium became a cornerstone of cancer treatment, saving countless lives. Her work on radioactivity opened new fields like nuclear physics, leading to technologies we rely on today. The Curie Institute in Paris and Warsaw carries on her mission, researching cures for diseases. In 1995, Marie and Pierre's remains were moved to the Pantheon in Paris, a rare honor for a woman, cementing her place in history. As a woman, Marie faced endless obstacles, sexism, poverty, and scandal, but she never wavered. She showed that talent knows no gender, and her story inspired generations of women to pursue science. From Ada Lovelace to modern researchers, Marie's legacy is a reminder that one person's curiosity can change the world. She once said, "Be less curious about people and more curious about ideas." That philosophy drove her life and continues to guide us. Conclusion. A call to dream big. What a journey we've been on. Marie Curie's life is a masterpiece of courage, love, and discovery. For those of you learning English, I hope her story inspires you to keep studying, keep dreaming, and keep pushing forward. Practice the words we've explored, like pioneer, resilient, clandestine, meticulous, and confidant, and use them to tell your own stories. Marie started as a girl with nothing but a thirst for knowledge, and she became a legend. You too can achieve greatness, one step at a time. Thank you for watching this epic tale of Marie Curie. If you loved it, hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more stories that teach and inspire. Let's honor Marie by staying curious, embracing challenges, and shining our own light. Until next time, keep learning and stay unstoppable.